All right, everyone. Welcome back. CrossFit Control Podcast. This week, we are going to be talking nutrition with our nutrition coach, Aaron. Aaron has been, how long have you been coaching for us?
I want to say 8 months.
Okay, so
Something like
Aaron
that, yeah.
started out with, he started coaching a couple group classes a night, and then we had a need for a nutrition coach. And I went to Aaron. I said, I made the joke, you look the part. But he's also very knowledgeable when it comes to nutrition. Mostly, he's been working on nutrition for himself for how long?
I started March of 2018 is whenever I started my nutrition CrossFit journey. So almost 5 years.
Do you mind? And I know that this is more of a we're trying to give people tips, but can you give people a little bit of your background? How did you get started?
Sure.
What were your struggles like coming through it, and then what do you focus on today?
Sure. I had most of the same struggles that everybody else does. They look at me and think it's really easy, but I still face the same problems that people do with some days I don't want to track my food. Some days I don't want to come in and work out. But I stopped trying to rely on motivation because I found motivation only got me a few weeks. And I started relying on discipline and just habits that will form and stay with you over time. So
I like that. You know my old strength coach Mauser,
Mhm.
and he used to have that saying. He would say, "Motivation will abandon you,
Mhm.
but discipline won't." And it's on the fitness side, you and I have actually discussed this quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, as far as the injuries that I'm going through and the
Mhm.
injuries that you're going through, and how it's some days it's hard to step in and modify something that we we used to be able to do so easily.
Yep.
But knowing that's our only way to get 1% better is
Mhm.
to keep showing up and doing what we can.
That's it. You're not gonna. I know. Whenever I started, I yo-yo dieted for probably 17 years of my life. I did. I mean, it's embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to say, but it's like I tried diet pills. I tried Tybo. I tried all P90X. Like I tried everything. I would lose about 10 pounds, and after a couple weeks, I would stop because I wasn't building good habits. I was trying to make severe changes all at once, and you can only withstand that for so long before you crack, and then you go right back to your habits that you have been doing for trying to break 15 years of habits. You can't do it overnight.
Do you think that's something that's hard for a lot of people to understand? Is it took 15 years to get to
Yep.
this point. It's not going to change overnight.
Yep.
Some people can do it in 3 months. Some people can do it in 6 months. Some
Mhm.
people it will take 5 years.
Absolutely.
So, um, well, I asked you to do this podcast. I asked you to give us some advice on how to manage eating habits through the holidays. And I see that you have some good notes. What do you think the best way? Maybe you can go bullet point. We can have a discussion on each bullet point as you go through them.
These are just some simple just things. The first thing I try and tell anybody I sit down with is keep it simple. Like we talked about habits now a few times. Start out with small habits, whether it's increasing your water or even just writing down your foods that you're eating. Not to track calories, not to worry about macros or anything like that, but sometimes just writing things down makes you aware of what you're putting in your body. And I think sometimes it's an eye opener for people like, wow, okay, I didn't realize I had eaten that much today. Um, so things like that, like I said, just start out small and build from it. As for the holidays, don't turn away like your favorite foods. I had pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. I had dressing. I had all that stuff. I had smaller portions than I probably would have 5 years ago. I know that for a fact. So I just limit myself, but I don't stop myself from eating those foods.
Do you when you don't limit yourself, are you also taking into account where they're at? And because you do track macros,
Yes.
are you taking that into account when you do have pumpkin pie? Are you taking into account what that looks like on your macros, or are you just giving yourself a day to be what you want to be?
It's not necessarily a day. I'll give myself a meal like that every now and then. We had tacos like 2 Fridays ago. It's taken me years to let myself get to this point. Um, But now it's like I'll track my calories and I'll have a really good understanding going into that meal. Like, okay, I can have it. Don't overeat. Don't go crazy, and it'll be fine. And it hasn't failed me so far. So
How long did it take you to get comfortable with understanding your macros and understanding where your calories should be? Did you actually, when you started with your nutrition coach, did she have you tracking macros from the get go, or did she have you start with habits, kind of like what you do with your people?
So I didn't start with macros until probably my second year into my journey. I'd already lost my almost 60 pounds. I started with a simple food diagram that had what I can eat and what I shouldn't eat. And I had it basically looked like a plate, and it showed me I need this much protein, this much vegetables, this many carbs, and twice a day I was allowed fats. Um, the problem with that, why it worked for me, because I can be that strict, but it's extremely strict. And I don't like it because it can cause other issues.
What do you mean by other issues?
It can cause, like, if you tell yourself I can't eat that, I can't eat this, or I can't eat that, it puts negative mindsets on food in general, which is not good. Because you have to be able to live. Like, you want to be able to go out to dinner with your spouse, with your kids. It's like there's nothing wrong with that. So it took me from, I had to break that mindset of I have to be a robot, I have to be strict. This is the only way it's ever going to work. So go ahead.
I was going to say, so Aaron, with the holidays around the corner, and you talk about how you've had to been so strict with your eating over the last couple of years. What would you say to members and to people who are like they're doing well, eating well, but then they slip up every now and then. Like I'm one of Aaron's nutrition clients here, and every now and then. Like when Whitney and I are in Pittsburgh, we went out to dinner, and at that point I was like, oh, I should be more aware of what I'm eating. But it's like you said, it's like, what would you say to your clients and the people who work with you who, they slip up? They might have uh, like a pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving or something on Christmas. What would you say to them?
You can't screw this up. Like, stop. Try not to look at it as I failed today or I failed this week. It's like you're looking at it for the long haul. Like, you're trying to make yourself healthier and better. So it's like you're not going to screw it up. Like, you may have a day where it didn't go as perfect as you planned, but if you look at your week and your month out from there, you're like, I did really good compared to how I used to be. So that's the approach I try and take with it. You can't fail.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
When you say they're looking at for the long haul, what's that long haul look like?
Trying to be a healthier version of yourself. Trying to get an understanding of what you're putting in your body. Is that what you mean?
I mean, nutrition especially, people want it to be an overnight success, but
absolutely,
it's not. And what I had a PT session with Chris earlier, and she was asking, how do you handle athletes who are never going to set a PR again? Because that is reality.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in life, you will never have another PR.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, you need to look at it as like set goals for yourself. Your PRs, they reset every year. That's something that you can do is, hey, this is the best weight I moved at 50 when I was 50 years old. That kind of stuff. But I think rather than looking at fitness and looking at nutrition as a 3-month goal, a 6-month goal, a 1-year goal, a 5-year goal, it's lifetime. Because this little bump in the road that I made by eating pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving is a small, small bump compared to the rest of my journey.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I think that's what you were saying is don't get frustrated with yourself over one minor road bump, because we can easily get back on track the next day.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And your goals will change. My goals have changed. In 5 years, my goals have changed probably 100 times. As far as like, am I working out for aesthetics now, or am I working out for like strength? As I was discussing with you, like what I eat, how much protein I take in, carbs, fats, calories, is all based on what my goals are for the next few months. And I try not to change them more than every few months, because you're not going to get results in a week. You're not going to get results that you want maybe even in a month. You'll start seeing them, but it takes time.
That's the hardest part, right? Is
Mhm.
waiting for the results.
Oh, absolutely.
So you got keep it simple,
Mhm.
which I think is a great piece of advice for people because oftentimes we want to overcomplicate things when we're getting into it. We can equate this to fitness. There's with an Olympic lift. I mean, there's 1,000 things I can ask you to do. However, let's start out with learning how to create speed with the hips. Let's learn how to get that front rack position.
Yep.
One little thing to focus on will carry into everything else. What's your next piece of advice you have?
Something I was going to bring up are there's so many this day and age with the internet, YouTube, and Facebook, and everybody doing different. There's so many diets. I don't want to call them fad diets because they all may serve a purpose for somebody, and they may get them started. They may lose a lot of weight doing keto or something else. The one thing you have keto, you have macros, you have paleo, you have I have a whole list here. Carnivore diet, fasting. I get asked about all these all the time. The one thing I tell everybody is at the end of the day, they all put you in a caloric deficit. Every one of them, no matter how you space it out or what you eat, you're in a caloric deficit. If you're in that deficit, you're going to lose weight. So that's why it goes right back to keep it simple.
So, would you say is the advice try to stay off the internet when it comes to finding what's best?
It can be, yes, because they can overcomplicate things very quickly. And some of those things will not work for people. I tried keto, I've tried most of those diets, and I found just watching what I eat and keeping a closer eye on it worked for me better.
And that's what's interesting is everybody is different.
Oh,
Every body
absolutely.
is different.
Mhm.
What works for you might not work for me.
Yep.
You were saying that you have a 220 protein a day
Yes.
goal. That's
I take in 2.2 because I'm about 179 right now, so I'm taking about 2.2 grams per pound. Uh, because I was trying to see how much muscle I could add over the last couple months without losing, without adding a lot of body weight. So it's just been a goal. I experiment on myself.
yeah.
I mean, at this point, like I do a lot of experiments like this on myself just to see, what works.
It's tough because, like you're saying, there's so much information out there,
Hmm.
and I've also done. I've tried keto before, and like you said, everything works because you're in that deficit.
Yep.
But we need to make sure that we are getting the right information from the right sources.
Yes.
And that's I think that's a common error is there will be a YouTube video on, hey, just go ahead and do keto. Well, why is it working for you? What's going on in the body? What's going on with their system? Why is it you take these athletes who they did keto while they were losing their weight, they were walking 3 miles a day, but then they try CrossFit and they're like, hey, I don't have any energy. Well, now we need to reintroduce carbs because your energy levels, your energy output is totally different
Yep.
than what you were doing before.
Yep.
And I'm going to be biased. I'm going to tell you CrossFit is the best thing for you as far as generalized fitness, and I do believe that. However, you talk to a strongman athlete, they're going to tell you that that's what's better for you because they're going to say, when in reality, are you actually running a mile for time? Very rarely. But the reality is your kids probably play for more than 30 seconds. And that's what strongman is how fast can you move for a minute?
Yeah, if that. I don't even know about a minute sometimes. Yeah, that's absolutely true though.
Yeah, so making sure you find the right information from the right sources is important.
And question it. That's what I always tell everybody. Like, question what you're reading. Don't just read it and be like, oh, that's got to be gospel. That's got to be true. Like, question it. Do your research. Ask people. There's a ton of people in here that know information. If it's lifting or nutrition or anything, it's like you can always get a second, opinion on it.
I get
So, Aaron and Devin too, kind of talking about diets and what you see on the internet. You guys know I'll still work at Planet Fitness. I have for the last couple of years, so a lot of members will ask me there too, and I'll get the questions about, oh well, what supplements are you taking? This is
That's a huge
a
one.
lot of people think that supplements are the key to a successful diet and nutrition plan. Is what protein are you taking? What like BCAAs or any type of supplement. So just hear your guys' thoughts on supplementation and where that comes into nutrition.
Sure, absolutely. You want to take this?
I always say supplements are meant to supplement a well-rounded diet, and and I want Aaron to dive a little bit deeper on this, but you cannot cover up poor choices with supplements. Like, I cannot eat like an asshole every day and think that if I just take fish oil, all of a sudden all my chronic inflammation is going to go away. It doesn't work like that. Same thing. We were talking about protein.
Mm-hmm.
If my goal was 180 grams a day and I'm getting it through 4 protein shakes, like you said, my kidneys are gonna struggle from that, and I'm probably going to be bloated because it's not a whole food source. It's better than nothing,
Mm-hmm.
but it should not be our main source of protein. And I'll let Aaron dive a little bit deeper on the supplement.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I went down the supplement rabbit hole. I mean, I tried when I first started. I was like, oh, I got to take everything like BCAAs and pre-workout and amino acids and all that. And then eventually, I was like, why am I not getting this from? I started questioning it, and I started looking into. I can get this from eating better and whole foods. So why am I not doing it that way? I stopped all supplements for probably 2 years completely. The only thing I recommend people take is collagen because I think it's absolutely amazing for your joints. I do like creatine as well. It helps with recovery, muscle soreness, and then just a protein powder. I mean, it's as simple as that. I think you can supplement if you have deficiencies. There is a time and place for some things, but like Devin said, you can't cover up a bad diet.
So it comes down to what you're eating more so than what you are taking.
Yes,
that was the big point there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you remember, I don't know if you guys have sat in on session 2 for onboarding. We go over eating for wellness and eating for fitness, and wellness is focus on your quality of foods, get those under control first, and then we can focus on quantity and adding supplements in. And supplements always is the last part of my nutrition discussion.
Yep. And whole foods, I know that sometimes confuses people. The best analogy I've ever heard is stay on the outside of the grocery store. If you think about it, that's where your fresh fruits, your vegetables, your meats, your dairy, it's all on the outside. If you go inside the aisles, that's where your processed foods are. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with some processed foods, but in moderation. But for the most part, try and get everything from whole foods because your body is going to break it down and digest it and use it way better than trying to break down something else.
I like it. So we got keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
We got stay in our lane. What else do you have for?
I actually had discipline versus motivation, which we actually touched on already. So, and then what if I fail? And like I touched on before, it's like you can't fail. You can't fail this. If you keep going and keep trying every day, same as in here, you know, with CrossFit in general.
That right there, you have to try every day.
Absolutely.
That's the big thing is don't look at it as, well, I failed yesterday, I'm a failure, I'm going to fail for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Nope. It resets every day.
Mm-hmm.
It resets every minute, to be honest, every second. But if you are eating like shit, you can put the fork down and stop and immediately change. Mm-hmm. It's harder because you're on a path already, but it resets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not easy. It's this. I call it a journey. I don't call it. That's one thing I called, like whenever I did an Instagram post after a year of how much weight I lost and how much I had changed and everything, and I called it a journey because I don't plan on stopping. It's like I don't want to stop. Like I'm enjoying it. Like yeah, it has its days. It has its weeks and months. It's not easy all the time.
Well, I say this all the time. We all have a story of what kickstarted our weight loss. Now you'll have people they've been athletes for their whole life and they don't change. They stick to a routine, but I have a story of what kickstarted my weight loss. Matt Walker has a story. I'm sure, Matt, you have a story. Aaron, you have a story. What was the eye-opening experience? Because how old were you at the time?
So I think, and it's the dumbest thing ever, but I turned 38 and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like I'm 230 some pounds. I can't walk across the driveway without getting winded. It's like, yeah, I could go bench 225 or something like that here and there. But it's like, I was just embarrassed. I was embarrassed for me. I was embarrassed for Andrea. It's like, I wanted to be a better person. And for some reason, that age, like, just hit me hard. And it just took And lo and behold, somebody I work with told me, "Hey, you should try CrossFit. I think you would like it." And that's how I got started.
What made you want to start I have that picture sitting over there.
Uh, you mean what made me want to
You don't,
start?
yeah, you don't have to move the picture, but in the room that we're recording in right now, it's also our intro room. It's where Aaron does his nutrition talks, and I surprised him one day by putting his before and after photo next to the coffee maker, and it's nobody believes that it's you.
I know.
And that they're always like, "Is that Aaron's brother?" Like, no, that's Aaron 5 years ago.
Yeah, I went years. You can ask Andrew this. I went years. I wouldn't let anybody take a picture of me. And my buddy John actually took that picture at a car show we were at in early 2018. And I think that along with everything else, like it was just an onslaught. Like I can't believe how far I've let myself go.
So now that you've been coaching nutrition, is it hard for you to believe that you are changing lives at this point? Like where you were at 5 years ago and the impact you can make on people going through the same thing today?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things, like you said, helping people it becomes addictive. Like I love helping people. I love working with people. To me, things that I think are very simple and that I've known for years, maybe something that somebody else doesn't know. Like I never thought of that. So it's like sharing anything I have. I'm not saying I'm the smartest person by any means when it comes to nutrition or CrossFit or anything, but I will share my experiences and what has helped me with anybody that I can to try and help somebody.
And you really are changing lives. I know it's hard to think of that sometimes, but yeah, that's what we're here for.
Absolutely.
Was there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, I think I'm good. I think I'm outside of my comfort zone a lot right now. So
Hey, you made it.
I did make it. Yeah.
22 minutes.
Yeah.
It was easy, right? You were just talking to Matt and I.
Yep.
It was easy.
Yep.
So, holidays, keep it simple.
Yep.
Stay in your lane. Don't try to research 1,000 fad diets. Discipline over motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that fourth one?
We just talked about diets, like the different types of.
Don't quit.
Yeah. Don't think you failed.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no failure.
Yeah, no failure. Absolutely.
It resets every minute, every second,
Yep.
every day.
Yep. You're always making decisions. So.
Well, I like it. I think that's a good way to end it. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Good job, Aaron.